YouTube was so exciting when I first heard about it. The chance to express yourself online, the chance to take all the exact kind of home videos me and my friends had been making anyway at that age, and then share them with the world and maybe even make money off of it. Not that we ever did, but to my 12-year-old self it sounded magical. I used to watch YouTubers like Ryan Heger basically having a laugh with his friends and becoming famous for that, and it looked like the absolute dream. Not least because of how sincere it was. It was just ordinary people with an ordinary camera sharing something they were passionate about. But YouTube was really radical in that sense. You suddenly didn't have to be part of the BBC or ITV or whatever big TV networks. It didn't even have to be a niche website you'd happen to come across. It's a centralised place that everybody can go to find people expressing so much. And people were passionate to do that for its own sake. And yet, you can probably tell where this is going. YouTube is not the same. Social media is not the same. I mean, they definitely are the same in pockets, but what people expect of YouTube, how it functions, how it's dominated. The whole thing has changed massively, and is that for the better? In some aspects, definitely. Whilst it's still flawed, it is safer than it used to be. And for the most successful YouTubers, it's a better platform than it once was for them to hit the mainstream. But YouTube is also a lot of other things. The scammy sponsors, the many influencer controversies. But I think also just how YouTube as a whole functions. And whilst this may sound cynical or partly like an old man yelling at the cloud, that's the bit I want to focus on today. It's going to be a very personal video, and if you're interested, let's settle ourselves down with a fancy intro. So I'm going to bring in a Dave's walk for the background footage now. As ever, the link is in the description, and I think it better reflects the vibe of this video, which is a mostly personal talk about how YouTube functions now, how it affects me and other creators, and some of the things I think that might help. It's not a highly analytical video essay, so I don't want to pretend it is. YouTube has been magical for me though, and it still is. Everything my 12-year-old self dreamt about YouTube somehow, miraculously, mostly proves to be true, and I still don't exactly know how I got here. I had no intention of becoming a YouTuber. I happened to write a long passionate comment on a video years ago that happens to get a lot of likes, and a lot of people there told me to start a channel to talk about what I was saying more. So I did, just as a throwaway thing to do. I knew nothing about video making, just thought it felt fun and that it was interesting to share thoughts about the things that interested me, and somehow it snowballed into this. Somehow, after ages and ages of all my videos getting 30 odd views at the time, one of those suddenly blew up, and I've been able to just about make a living off of this. YouTube changed my life for the better in so many ways. It enabled me to keep doing this thing I find so fun, making videos, sharing my thoughts, connecting to people about them. Genuinely, I want to do this for the rest of my life. I've grown so much in the time I've been doing this. I've never once run out of things I wanted to talk about. I've never once made a video I wasn't passionate about, and the fact anything like YouTube exists in that sense is legitimately amazing. It's so cool. Several decades ago it would have sounded absurd as an idea. But even then, it required me to be extraordinarily lucky. I mean, I put a lot of work in, but I think mostly I was extraordinarily lucky. And there are a lot of creators who deserve extraordinary luck that never get it because the system of YouTube is kind of broken and the culture around it is so incredibly strange. Let's say you post a video on a topic that you're really passionate about, and it's a great video, and by whatever stroke of luck, the algorithm recommends it to a ton of people. It blows up. It's an amazing feeling. But then what? Monetization is the buzzword, right? Everything online has to be monetized nowadays, otherwise it's seen to lack some kind of value, and that's created this pressure to do more, to keep the momentum. I think art for art's sake, especially on YouTube, is a lot less a common mindset than it used to be. Starting a channel now comes with a cultural expectation of taking it somewhere. So you had one big video, but then now you need a second one, and then a third one, and then a fourth, and to try and milk the cash cow of your success for as long as you can, at the very worst, or at the best, cultivating that into something even bigger and longer lasting, to turn one viral video into a whole channel, or into a brand, or a career. You've been given this opportunity for making more videos, but what do you make? Because what if your next passionate idea will take months to put together and release, by which point all of the momentum your first video had might have dried up, and then the second video bombs? Or maybe your second video is on a completely different topic and the algorithm doesn't trust this pivot of content, no matter how good it still is, and then the second video bombs. The algorithm likes consistency and familiarity. It likes sameness, not difference, and it demands you feed its engine. The analytics allow me to see in real time my momentum dying down as the views dry up on old videos, waiting for me to release a new one to stoke the flames again. So you make a second video on the same topic, maybe a third video, but at what point are you then just treading over the same ground? At what point is it just becoming repetitive? So much so that you're losing passion for it. You've explored that topic already, it's done. There are other more exciting things to move on to, different things, but YouTube doesn't want that.
And you know, this is common advice you hear big YouTubers say all the time, that if you want your channel to take off, just focus on making really good videos. No matter how long they take, even if it's one video every few months, so long as it's good content, it will find people. And it sounds great when you hear that, and I don't think the advice is entirely wrong. This does still happen for some people, but I also think it's outdated advice. I think this is how the algorithm was when those YouTubers first got big 5 or 10 years ago, but now, I don't think this idea is even half as true as it used to be, and that's a problem.
And I think in this sense, YouTube does not incentivize creative, experimental, free-thinking content. What it incentivizes is slop, what people say. Because here's the other question. You've been given this opportunity to grow your channel with more videos, but what if you don't really know what else you want to talk about? But you have to talk about something, don't you? Because otherwise the channel dries up. You can't allow that. So again, you either tread over the same ground repetitively, or you build off of other successful ideas in the algorithm, or you turn to AI to fill in the blanks for you. And in this way, I think YouTube does partly incentivize plagiarism. It's hard to know how it doesn't, in a sense, because when there is so much pressure to keep releasing new content and to do it quickly and to never run out of things to say and ideas to explore, you can see how plagiarism comes up. The H-Bomber guy kicked off the scandal around it a few years ago, and obviously there's no excuse for plagiarizing content, but for the most, there's also very little punishment. Regularly, you hear stories of other people's content being stolen and reposted in different languages from some other YouTuber, or just with certain words changed, just stealing the script of your video and reading it as though it's their own. It can be incredibly difficult to get YouTube to do anything about that, assuming you even find out it's happening in the first place. I doubt anyone's ever stolen my content, I'm not big enough for that to happen, but if they have, how do I find out? And secondly, it works. If the original video they're plagiarizing did well, there's a decent chance reposting a slightly altered version would also do well. These are templates for successful videos. They're already giving you everything you need to talk about, they've already provided you with the ideas, maybe you can even use the free time you've gained from not making an original video of your own to think more carefully about how to make the best thumbnail and a title that might do even better than the video you've plagiarized. So there's everything to gain, and if the worst that might happen is maybe you're forced to delete the videos at some point, that's hardly much risk. And to take that then further, it's obvious why YouTube incentivizes AI for making videos. It's so much quicker, it's so much easier. The main concern for the YouTube algorithm isn't how brilliant your videos are or how carefully they were crafted and made. It's just what's engaging, what are people going to click on, what can be churned out consistently, which is a problem for similar reasons to plagiarism, all the way down to just meaningless, repetitive slop taking over YouTube. You know, the more the creation of that kind of content is incentivized, then the more and more that's what creators are going to upload, and if that's what they're uploading, then the more it's what audiences will get recommended, until YouTube becomes an artistically bankrupt spasm of empty thought. And as a creator myself, I'm not immune to this in smaller ways. I mean, not plagiarism or AI, but I've learned after a long period with my channel in a massive dip that you do better if you make videos in a series, if you do similar things after each other. I mean, some channels are lucky. They can make one video on, say, The Godfather, and then the next video on Ratatouille, and then one on Kill Bill or something, and all of those videos will do well and be recommended to the same audience, but for me, that rarely works. When I pivot to a video on a completely different movie or show, it normally does very badly until I've released a second or third video on the same movie or show. And that then, to an extent, hinders some of my creative freedom. I'd rather just make one video on one topic and then move on to something completely different. There's so many different movies and things I want to explore, and I don't want to just burn myself out. Like, I make a lot of massive psychological deep dives into certain fictional characters, and I love doing that. I'm really passionate about it, but it is also exhausting. Once upon a time, I made big psychological analyses about Tywin Lannister, then Tyrion, then Jaime, then Cersei, all pretty much one after the other, and they did very well in the algorithm as a result of that. It built up a load of momentum, but I was so worn down by the end, and I didn't think I did the best job either as a result. I think the Tyrion video in particular was a bit too rushed, and I later went back to provide a retrospective on all of them because I thought I could do better. You know, I want to make the best videos I can, and I am really happy with all of the videos I've made, except maybe one or two. But the way the algorithm works doesn't make that the easiest to achieve. It doesn't lend itself to making the best content you possibly can. If I was really smart, if I wanted my channel to grow a lot quicker, I probably would make these kind of videos every week, one after the other, for a long time. But if I did that, doing them so consistently and so rapidly, I think they would either end up more bland, simplified versions of what I could otherwise make with more time, or I'd just burn myself out from stress. But when you do then spread them out, the algorithm is more likely to get confused and sometimes fails to recommend them at all. For example, my videos on the Breakfast Club going from 600,000 views, 200,000 views to 16,000. Either you chase the momentum and potentially get trapped in a certain niche and then perhaps even burn out from the repetition of feeling constrained in what you can produce, or you risk killing all the momentum you've developed because you want to try something new that the algorithm is not trained to trust you for. And I actually think that's kind of what's so ruthless about the algorithm, because it doesn't matter what your channel is. It doesn't matter what momentum you've developed. If you do enough bad videos in a row, it will stop recommending you. I had that happen for a long time, stuck in the algorithm dead zone, and it taught me I had to be more pragmatic, because otherwise nobody sees anything I make. And this leads to the bigger problem. Even when there is definitely an audience out there for what you want to say, YouTube just might not notify them of your video, regardless of if they're subscribed or have clicked the bell. Because YouTube is trained to treat audiences more generally. It wants contents that will do well for everyone, not so much specific content for the specific people that want it. I regularly get comments from people who have subscribed to me, who have clicked the bell, saying, "Why didn't YouTube recommend me this video? I had to literally search your channel checking to see if you had made more. I've been watching all of the videos of this series, why didn't it tell me this one was out?" The point being, YouTube isn't really that interested in tailoring its algorithm to suit your needs, so much as it's interested in pushing certain trends onto you. And I think most of us know this. I regularly struggle to find videos I want to watch on my homepage when I go on YouTube, compared to how much easier it was 5 years ago. And I think I watch a lot less YouTube myself as a result of this. And that's a shame, because there are so many wonderful videos out there that I would love to watch, that I click onto YouTube wanting to watch. I just have no simple way of finding them or knowing what they are because I'm not being shown them. And then there's obviously a preference YouTube makes for what's often seen as content designed to drive engagement, content that sensationalizes, deliberately rage baits or spreads misinformation, not always as a sinister attempt to influence politics or whatever, sometimes simply because baseless, provocative content of that sort does well. It earns people money. There was recently a story about an influencer, Geeta Soryapura, who claims he'd made £300,000 posting fake AI videos that promote racist, Islamophobic, anti-migrant messages aimed at British elderly audiences, even though he lives in Sri Lanka. You know, why put your time into telling the truth if it's both quicker and so much more lucrative to lie and spread hate? I think we all know the algorithm functions in a way that it pushes people towards more and more extremes as they watch one video and then it recommends the next thing that's similar to that but even further along, sending people down a rabbit hole. And the more contentious, the more engagement it drives, but is that healthy? Is that truthful? Even in very minor examples, I don't think this kind of polarization or extremism is healthy for us. Even in my area of videos, like film or TV criticism and analysis? At what point are sensationalist videos just reviewing a movie damaging our ability to think critically and to fairly consider both the good and bad, in place of just completely trashing something as downright awful or defending it as totally flawless? Is it a coincidence that of the 7 recent videos I've made on Stranger Things, the one video that really took off is the one with the more negative title and thumbnail? You look at channels who do so well in movie review sectors, and I wonder if creators like me are being encouraged and incentivized to just completely trash shows now. Just take the most extreme angle possible, and I don't want to do that. I like considering both the good and bad and exploring exactly why something went wrong, not just provoking anger for the sake of engagement. The more crowded market YouTube becomes should mean the more variety to what we can watch, but it seems increasingly the reverse, as the algorithm chooses to push only the specific content it believes will draw the most attention and engagement overall. Unless you're already a big enough creator to successfully feed off yourself, then you get more and more pushed out of the space, and YouTube becomes increasingly dull, baseless and inaccurate. I don't know, I feel less successful in the YouTube algorithm than I used to be. Maybe that's because my videos are marketed worse, it's possible. But also a lot of channels seem to be saying that more and more, seem to be saying they're getting less views than they used to. This can't be good for the future, right? The whole point of YouTube was that it was something radically different from what TV networks were providing. Their polished, rigid set of curated content. Obviously that's positive in a lot of ways, but YouTube was something different. It was freer and a more rebellious alternative where anybody could say anything, make anything. It didn't matter if it was a bit unpolished. That was exciting and kind of cozy because it was a voice for ordinary people. But it's less and less that every year as big channels dominate and TV networks even start their own channels. Endlessly promoted clips from late night chat shows. No matter how many times I tell YouTube, do not recommend me that, they always seem to come back. You know, it's just as easy for an ordinary person to voice their thoughts on YouTube, to start doing that, but is there the promotion anymore for anyone to hear them? If I started YouTube today instead of 6 years ago, I don't know if I would get anywhere. If a video uploads to YouTube but doesn't get any views, does it make a sound? And, you know, this is mostly just talking about the algorithm. I haven't touched on the increasingly AI staff that make it impossible to contact YouTube over anything, unless you have a big enough following to spam them on Twitter. That seems to be the only way to get any support from them. I haven't talked about its failures to regulate content, or the sheer amount of ads nowadays, or the fact my channel could just get terminated tomorrow due to some technical error, and there may be very little I could ever do about that, no matter how wrong they are. Everything I've worked towards wiped out in a single stroke. There are a lot of different things we could criticise, but what happens about any of it? I don't think there's ever likely to be a real viable alternative to YouTube, because just how much it costs Google to store all this mass amount of data for so many videos constantly being uploaded. It's incredibly expensive, and that makes the site itself not particularly profitable. Many of the supposed rivals to YouTube can only function as small rivals, and the smaller they are, the less they can actually compete and influence YouTube. Even then, they still depend on YouTube for promotion. Take Nebula, the platform set up by several successful YouTubers as an alternative. You pay a subscription to get access to all content on Nebula from carefully picked creators. Creators have to be invited to join the platform because for the business to be sustainable, they need to split their profits with creators that are drawing in viewers, at least as far as I understand. But that means for a creator to be invited onto Nebula, they likely have to already have cultivated a following on YouTube. And it is through YouTube that Nebula is most promoted to audiences. Then there are streaming services like Dropout TV that again promote most of their content via YouTube, that expanded out of a YouTube channel College Humor. Is this an alternative? A more decentralized internet where different creators build their own websites and services, and YouTube then just becomes a means to advertise them. YouTube is just a space to advertise what can be found elsewhere. In many ways, I think that could be the alternative, but that also pushes smaller creators even further out of the picture, right? Because then YouTube is just even more dominated by ads for stuff you can see elsewhere, rather than people sharing their voice. Unless we got so decentralized an internet that everything exists in small pockets again, maybe then. I think YouTube could improve. I think its algorithm could definitely be better, but that's not likely to happen, I don't think, anytime soon. And probably not without government regulation or enough loss of its audience, and that's not the near future. I don't know what the solution is for the internet. I don't think there's an easy one. So I'm very eager to hear people's thoughts in the comments. I don't know the answer there, but I think I do know some of the solution for me. This is the bit where the video gets much more just about my channel. I have felt things getting harder for me, and I've had to more pragmatically think about how I market my videos. And doing that to an extent isn't a bad thing at all. I think I've found a decent medium level to do that in, where I'm not losing what my original vision for YouTube is. But it's really tricky to maintain that balance, and I don't want to get pushed too far down that road, chasing trends and losing what I always wanted YouTube to be for me in the first place. I would love to do this forever, but I think I need to prepare myself for the possibility that might not be viable. That YouTube might just recommend my videos less and less, or even terminate my channel out of nowhere. So there's 3 things I'm going to do that I think will help me, and if you're in a similar boat as a creator, perhaps they will help you too, but none of them are revolutionary. They're all kind of a bit obvious. The first is I've made a Twitter account. I hate Twitter. I've never used Twitter. I refuse to call it X, but if anything ever happens to my channel, I need something of a following there to spam YouTube help to get something done about it. Otherwise, that's just me done, you know? Well, I say I never used Twitter. Apparently this account was created 3 years ago, despite me having no memory of it. I don't know why I made it. I haven't posted anything, but I figured out my login and I'll probably start posting things on there from time to time. That's hardly a glowing endorsement, but I encourage you to follow me there if you're someone who uses Twitter and if that interests you. It could potentially save my channel one day, I don't know. The link will be in the description and the pinned comment below. Secondly, whilst I already have a Patreon, I'm going to start doing it a bit differently. I'm going to start using it a bit like a free newsletter for anyone to sign up, whether they're donating any money at all. You know, the biggest issue for a channel like mine is YouTube not recommending my videos to the people who do want to watch them, regardless of if they're subscribed and have clicked the bell. YouTube just does not do that with any consistency. So every time I post a video, I'm going to also post about it on Patreon. Share the link there for people to watch it, write a few paragraphs of some extra thoughts or something in a post, and allow everyone to see that post on Patreon, whether they're a paid member, whether they're a free member, whether they're not a member at all. Because Patreon does consistently notify people when I've made a post. And because it only notifies you about the Patreon accounts you're following rather than just recommending a load of slop you don't want, the way YouTube does, it will be much easier to find notifications about my videos. They will be less drowned out. Like a newsletter, you're basically signing up to be shown this stuff, which I think is also the advantage over me just promoting everything on Twitter or Instagram. So that's something I'm going to encourage. If you don't have the money or don't want to financially support me, that's not a problem at all. Sign up to my Patreon as a free member simply to follow my channel better, simply to be notified about videos. Because the more people who are consistently notified about my videos means the less risk there is for me to make niche content and passion projects, which means the less restricted I am by chasing the algorithm. Again, there will be a link down below for my Patreon. And thirdly, I will stress I do still make exclusive content for paying patrons. There are still the same benefits there's always been to becoming a paid member on my Patreon, plus an extra one now: Discord. I've reopened the Discord server I started way back during lockdown. I did it for a little bit then when I had free time, and then it kind of died away, but I really missed it. It's part of what was always so special about YouTube for me. So I've reopened it, but partly because I want to maintain a smallish community feel on there, and partly because it benefits my channel. The server will only be open to paying patrons with roles equating to your tier level. I like getting to connect with people via YouTube. I love all the discussions you get in the comments on my videos. And Discord cultivates that even more. I don't want YouTube's changing algorithm to keep hindering that, you know? So if you're interested in joining the server, consider becoming a Patreon. It's early days still, but I've been popping in there most days. At some point I'd like to organise movie nights on there to stream a film. If it's legally safe for me to do that, I don't know yet. I'm aiming to try and be online there after every video I post. My hope is that together these three things can build a more solid core of an audience that isn't entirely dependent on YouTube itself. I need a base off of YouTube, and I think most creators should probably consider doing something like this if they haven't already. Not just going onto Twitter or TikTok to clip up their videos and share them again, which is obviously a good thing I probably should be doing if I had the free time, but trying to cultivate a community externally from YouTube. Each YouTuber might not be able to set up big sites like Nebula, but we still can create our own little pockets on the internet. And maybe one day like-minded creators can start to team those bases together. Who knows? I don't know. This video is half a shameless advert for my Patreon on Discord, but I wanted to create a video where I could explain it properly and explain why. I would rather do this. I would rather encourage you to join my Patreon for free than I would sit here shaking a bucket telling you please pay for my Patreon. I'm fine if you don't, honestly. My bigger concern is building a community of people who will find my videos. There's still so many things I want to do on here, but I would like to take a few precautionary measures. Apart from all of that, I am very interested in the question of what the bigger solution can be for the algorithm or for YouTube or for social media as a whole. Yeah, let me know what you think. Consider joining my Patreon as a paid or free member, and otherwise, hopefully see you next time. And as ever, a special thank you goes to Flying Spider, Luke Hoare, Michael Gallagher, Ben Marie, Thafi, Chad Bramwell and Joshua C. Follier. Thank you.